And good morning, and welcome to Boles.tv, B-O-L-E-S, period, T-V. And I'm saying that slowly, ever so slowly, and saying period instead of dot, because we have new streaming capabilities on this David Boles live stream, closed captioning. It's on by default. You can turn it off if you don't like it. You can make it bigger if you want to. You can make it smaller. Just click on the little gear icon, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get full accessibility to this live stream. Very grateful that we finally figured out how to get these captions going. Now, the only reservation is these captions are only good for the live stream. I shouldn't say only. These captions work during the live stream and not on our video on demand. There is a way to get them to record to video on demand, but the software we're using does not currently allow that. And it's very amazing. Look at this. I have my little iPhone right here. And I can follow along what I'm saying. I can see my own closed captions. It's amazing work. Absolutely terrific stuff. I'm so delighted. We are now finally captioned, open captioned, closed captioned for the deaf and hearing impaired, and other people who just like to follow along. We like to read along. What is that madman saying? Well, we do say things here every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Jana Marie is here, hardcoreasl.com, presenting her view of the world through a deaf prism. American Sign Language, that's weekends at 11 a.m., right here on Boles.tv. And she's also here on Fridays, 10:15, around 10:15, and gives a very formal, structured lesson in American Sign Language. So I have all these things surrounding me, and they're all have closed captions. I have my laptop over here, closed captions on. I have my stream here that tells me the viability of my stream on Twitch, and it looks good, but it really never seems to tell me if I'm offline, which is very interesting. What tells me when I'm offline is my big TV over here that has the Twitch app on it, Apple TV. Streaming. I cannot figure out how to get captions to show up on the big TV. I've asked for help on that. My iPad's here, streaming my closed captions. It's amazing technology. I just can't believe it all works. I said that yesterday for 44 minutes, and I'm saying it again for 5 seconds. It's very, very delightful. And yesterday I didn't know how all of this was going to work, if we had to pay for it, if viewers had to pay for it, and disabled people and deaf people traditionally don't have access to a lot of money. They may be on government sponsorship. So I asked the guy who created this closed captioning, and he said, no, everything's free. So I guess what I was misunderstanding is he also offers translation of spoken word into, I'm looking at his website, German, English, Spanish, and French. And I think you pay 500 credits or something like that for 24 hours of that kind of translation. And that's what was throwing me, because to me, closed captions are translation. They're not an exact copy of what is spoken because there are errors made. And to me, it's a translation. Some say it would be a direct copy. So that got explained to me, and I'm very grateful. So now that we know that all of this is the dream come true that it's supposed to be, maybe we should do a little bit of investigation as to how all this works. Just for fun. Just to start our day together. So this is what it looks like. Our closed captions. Stream CC is the name of the extension. I don't think it's a widget. I had all of this installed the first week that we were broadcasting, and I couldn't get it to work. I didn't know why. I searched, I looked. I asked for help, but I guess not from the right person. And the trick is you have to set it up, the extension, as an overlay, excuse me if I'm screaming, as an overlay on your Twitch screen. So, and that makes complete sense because captions are sort of an overlay of what you're trying to do. So you install the extension, I keep saying widget, the extension, in your Twitch account. Then you connect it to the Stream CC website. And that, on that website, I didn't get this either the first time we did this, that website is where you set all of the intricate details of how you want your stream captioned. And it's not just for Twitch, as you can see, and this is my account. You can see I have Twitch extension captions on. You can also caption your Zoom meetings if you need that. Turn that on, and you have to put in your Zoom URL so it knows where you're going. And OBS WebSocket. Now, this is very interesting because I use Streamlabs OBS, which is a, I guess, branch of OBS. And OBS is more sophisticated, more advanced, perhaps more complicated to use. And then you set up a web, what do I do? You set up a WebSocket that talks to your OBS software, but not Streamlabs software, and that WebSocket plugin is what records your closed captions to your video on demand. So that's my next big step in getting that figured out. So this is the dashboard, and then as you can see at the very bottom, you get quick start instructions that tells you exactly how to make all of this work. Bingo. Install the Twitch extension. If you're using streaming on Twitch, update your language, all of that. And then you have to make sure you're using Chrome browser or the Edge browser and give it access to your microphone. And then when you're ready to go, you click Start to Caption. And it will listen This external website listens to your microphone and then provides the captioning. Now I have two instances of this web page open. One is actively listening and captioning, and this one is just to show you what's going on. I don't want to click to start captions because that might mess things up. And you can get announcements what's going on. You can get information about who's supporting the closed captioning, which is really quite lovely. You can become a supporter. There's a showcase, caption settings. Very lovely stuff. Uh-oh, Dora's here. Good morning, Dora. How are you? Nice to have you with us on this very strange, rainy, gloomy day on the East Coast. But the weather's nice. It's like 50 degrees. It's sort of raining, and I have all the windows open. So here are the caption settings that you can set for yourself as the streamer, and then the individual person can click on the gear icon and decide how they want the captions to be provided to them. You can hide profanity. You can translate your English words into pirate words, which is a little bizarre to me. I don't quite understand that. But maybe some people find it funny. And there are block lists. You can block list bad words. I would scroll down, but I don't want to show you all my cussing words that I don't allow, because then people try to get around it. So who, how, what is Stream CC? This is what it is. Who it is. Eric Guzman. He, him. This is his LinkedIn page. And this is a guy who's just doing the right thing. He saw a need, and he knows computers and knows how to code, and said, my gosh, I could help people. I could create this extension for Twitch and help people know what's being spoken by turning them into captions. This is his Twitter feed. Talk to me, Guzman. Eric Guzman. He's a proud Hispanic. Stream closed captioner creator. Woo, yeah. Full stack developer. Username talk to me Guzman. TALK, the number 2, MEGOOSEMAN. Okay, love that. Love visiting. And of course, he's also a Twitch streamer. You can follow him, you can subscribe and support. Talk to me, Guzman. This is his streaming schedule where he pretty much talks about coding. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, hey, he's right there. Here's his about screen on Twitch. You can see his stream right up here. Isn't that crazy? Fun, right? Good stuff. Who wouldn't want that? So if you subscribe to his Twitch stream page, you're supporting him economically and financially. And you can also become his patron. Talk to me, Guzman. There he is. And for $5 a month, you can support him. Supporting the closed caption stream. And we, of course, support him. We need more people who care about other people and who want to help people. So we big thanks to Eric Guzman for Stream CC, which is a wonderful, wonderful service. It makes it a real joy to be able to include our friends in the Midwest and our friends in California and our friends in New York City who might prefer to have closed captions. Yay! Well, in other news, Harry Reid died. Now, this is really fascinating for me because Harry Reid is the guy that I've known ever since I've sort of been interested hardcore in politics. And he was the Senate Majority Leader. He's the one who convinced Barack Obama to run for president. And he's now dead at 82. He survived 4 years with pancreatic cancer. He never gave up. He was a fighter, a boxer all of his life. And what I really liked and appreciated about Harry Reid is that he was very soft-spoken, but he was very tough, and you could not deny him something that he wanted. And then I look at someone like Chuck Schumer, who's supposed to be a hard-nosed New Yorker in there fighting for us, and he doesn't get really anything done. Where Harry Reid got everything done. He's the one who passed Obamacare, really. Not the Obama. And you just wonder, there's Mitch McConnell on the other side, who's just like Harry Reid, soft-spoken and a tight fist, and will punch you in the face and kill you if you don't go along with what he says. And Harry Reid was the same way. Chuck Schumer, not so much. We need a little more Harry Reid in the spirit of Chuck Schumer. There's a lot to get done, and you're going to have to coerce people into doing the right thing, unfortunately. What else is in the news? Oh boy, John Madden died. Now, if you're an old guy like me, you remember John Madden coaching the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders. Oh, I'm pinning again my microphone. I'm sorry if I'm screaming. The Oakland Raiders. And then he had a long career as a football analyst on CBS Sports with Pat Summerall. And the two of them doing a game was absolutely enjoyable. And John Madden would always say, oh, I'm a big dumb guy. What do I know? And then he'd go on and tell you exactly what was going to happen and why. So he was not a big dumb guy at all. He was a very, very smart guy, wonderful personality. And my favorite quote from John Madden that he said during a game, a live game, was this. Something's in chat. Oh, there's Artist again. Sorry, Dora. I'm going to pin this. When I put up my screen, I can't see what's going on with my chat. Funny, before September 11, I was studying to be a developer, but then things changed, and that dream ended and a new one began. Well, that's very interesting. Now you've opened a whole can of worms. Now everybody wants to know what you're doing now. I love the developer part. That's fantastic. You probably could have solved our closed caption problem if I asked you. So my favorite John Madden quote is this. It doesn't matter if the mule is blind. Just load the wagon and go. And when he said that, people were very confused. They thought, oh, it's over for him. He's gone off the edge. It's a beautiful saying. He was talking about football, but that's a great saying for anything and everything. It doesn't matter what deficits you have. It doesn't matter if someone is hurt. It doesn't matter if you don't feel good. Just pick up your stuff and go. Go get it done. It doesn't matter if the mule is blind. Just load the wagon and go. It's fantastic. It stuck with me all this time. First thing I thought of when I heard that he was not feeling well and that he had died. And people say he died suddenly. Everyone knew Harry Reid was very sick, but people seemed very surprised by John Madden's death. A little bit of chess news yesterday. No, we're not playing chess. Don't worry about that. Not yet, anyway. We had a big change in the landscape of chess and what's going on. It's very, very interesting. Magnus Carlsen is the 10-year world champion. No doubt. Super genius. And he just won, again, his world championship by defeating Jan Nepomniachtchi, who is a Russian. And they're, tell they're friendly, but he said afterward, Magnus said, if I can't get better competition from my peers, which is true, he beats them all. I understand what he's saying. He's bored. And if I can't play a young guy like Ali Reza Firouzja, who is 18 years old, someone like that, the next time I have a world championship, I'm retiring. I'm done with these people who are my age and my generation because I beat them all the time for 10 years. They're not interesting to me. Well, yesterday the king fell. And we have a new rising star. And the name of the new star is not Alireza Firouzja, but a 17-year-old from Uzbekistan, whose name I cannot pronounce, but I'll try. Noderbek is his first name. I have it written down, Abdusattorov. Noderbek Abdusattorov from Uzbekistan, who not only beat head-to-head Magnus Carlsen, but also beat America's best and smartest chess player that we have, Fabiano Caruana. And he beat them in the World Rapid Chess Championship. And there was a big controversy yesterday that at the end of the Swiss round, there were 4 people technically tied for first place. They all had a score of 9. And normally people would think, well, you have 9 people who are in first place. We have a little playoff. But the way that everyone knew they were going to resolve this is, of those 4, we're going to pick 2 who have the best record in the Swiss tournament, which takes in draws and head-to-head wins and losses. And those 2 out of the 4 are going to play for the championship, the number 1 slot. So, which will decide 1 and 2, and then 3 doesn't have to play, and it's all based on mathematics. And Magnus was upset and said it's ridiculous, idiotic was the word he said, to decide a world championship with numbers. And other people said, look, the time to object to that was before the tournament started and when you were all advised of the rules in your technical meeting. So Magnus kind of pooped on the Rising Star's shine yesterday by complaining that he didn't really win it. But he did, because the young man went against Ian Napamachi and beat him 2 times in a row, quite convincingly, and became the world champion. The World Rapid Chess Champion. So this is Magnus and the new champion. There he is. There's your new superstar. Abdusattorov, 17 years old. And he beat the world champion. And he beat the best American player we have, Fabiano Caruana. And he's very quiet, very elegant. Sits down, concentrates, moves his pieces, not scared. Doesn't appear to be under pressure at all. He just sat there and won. And beat the people he needed to beat. Now, Magnus Carlsen's kind of walked that back. Other people kind of walked it back. Said, oh, congratulations, young man. It's nice to have you with us. A little too late. So he played really well. Very impressive. We have a new superstar among us. And it's not, right now, Alireza Firouzja. But he's coming up. He's a good one, too. These new young kids, for a year and a half, they surprised a lot of people. They have been offline. They've been online. They've been offline a chessboard. In person, OTB, over the board, chess. And they've been at home for a year and a half from this COVID pandemic. And what have they done? They've been practicing against computers. And they've been studying. And they've been finding new ways to win. And if you want to beat Magnus Carlsen, you can do it online. You just sit there. And if you know what you're doing, and you watch his games, you can search for weaknesses. And weaknesses were found. And they'll be found again. So that's the chess news. One more bit of news. This is from the same thing. Same tournament. This is a Norwegian reporter who I guess most people just couldn't stand. And he's there covering this event. And they say he's very loud. And he bumps into photographers. And he speaks while they're competing. And no one seems to want to remove him because he's, I guess, sort of connected to Magnus Carlsen in some way. And when you're the world champion, you kind of set the standard and the table of expectation of what's happening and what's not happening. So no one can really feel that they can touch him. So yesterday he was reporting live from the event. There's a woman sitting there getting ready for her game, and he elbows her in the head. And he doesn't really seem to care too much because he's on the air.
Sjakktiteln, sorry, very sorry.
Oh, we gotta play it again.
Det ofte lurer på jo
Right there in the head.
sorry, very sorry.
Now, it wasn't that hard, but sort of annoying. She's there trying to prepare for her game, and this loud guy's talking, dropping things, and smacks her right in the head.
Sorry, very sorry. Det som vi ofte lurer på jo hvem det folk skal
At least he apologized in English.
Og det,
I guess he knows that she
mistet
speaks
turen min
English.
litt mye kaos. Det sjakktiteln, sorry, very sorry.
Oh, I love it. And that's the news so far today. Now we're going to take a very brief blood pressure break. And we're going to be back instantaneously in a moment. checking my captions. We're back from break. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. Boles, period, TV. Well, we're going to talk about timelines in a moment. Disturbing timelines. That if you're not paying attention, you might miss what's really going on. But first, there's something that's really funny. I get PR stuff all the time. And some of it's worth sharing and some of it's not. But this just, I thought, was fun. A moon bike. It's new. It's eco-friendly, perfectly silent, and easy to ride. This unique mobility solution intends to change the face of winter seasons for years to come. The moon bike's snow bike is only 2/3 the size of the average snowmobile. It gives its users the freedom of an e-bike with the power of a motorcycle. Well, that's just fabulous. So that's the PR blurb. And here's the actual website. And I'm not sure who wouldn't want one of these. I want one, and I don't even go skiing. Unlock the future of fun. Introducing moon bikes. And there they are, moving. It's a moon bike. And it's all electric. So it doesn't pollute the environment. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm tempted to click on this, but there'll probably be music, and then I'll be in trouble, and this whole thing will be deleted, so I better not. So a moon bike is coming to a snow-capped mountaintop near you. So delightful. And it's all over the news. I have no idea how much they cost, though. Do we have a price? Pro Our Story, I don't think they have a price yet. Maybe I missed it. I wonder what the spec is. Oh, there. Oh! Starting at. It says $8.05, but obviously this is U.S. money. I think it means $8,500, right? $8,500. I'm assuming. I don't know. That's probably about right, I guess, for a snow bike. Or a snowmobile. Oh, look how lovely it is. Easy to use, too. That looks fun. Who would store their firewood on top of their awning? That's weird. So there you go, snow bike. Get one today. Now, this is very interesting information, and we're going to briefly talk a little bit about this COVID thing, because things are changing rapidly, and I don't think they're changing in the right direction. I understand that people don't want to be locked down. People don't want to stay at home. People want to work. People want their kids in school. And in the last week or so, there's been a lot of change where we used to be very careful about spreading this disease. And now, even though we're not at herd immunity, now the government, now businesses are saying, oh, no. We don't have to lock down anymore, really. If you're sick with COVID with a positive test, you don't have to stay home for 10 days. You can just stay home for 5 and come back. And you don't even need a negative test after 5 days to come back. Just come on back. Now, people who know and who are not part of the machine driving this know that the infection period for COVID is 3 to 5 days. So depending where you are on the scale of when you were tested and when you were infected, after 5 days, you might be right at the beginning of your COVID infection, which means you can make other people sick. If you have 10 days, then if you're on the 5th day you test positive, then you have your 5 days where you can get better and not test positive. So that's the new big scam to me that's coming from the CDC. And New York City said, oh, no. We're opening schools on January 3rd. And we're going to be double, triple testing all these kids all the time to make sure that they're okay. And by the way, always wear a mask. especially if you're sick. But if you're not sick, wear a mask anyway. Okay, we all know that. Most of us know that. So this is from the Census Bureau, which is the government, but still very interesting about who are the adults who are still not vaccinated against COVID. Well, the census knows. 42% reported they don't trust the COVID vaccine. It's just shocking to me. You don't know. Well, how? What do you mean? Why don't you trust it? Who is telling you not to trust the vaccine? It's not doctors. It's not scientists. It's not people who have the vaccine. It's people who don't know and who don't have the vaccine who are telling you not to trust the vaccine. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's newest phase of experimental household pulse surveys, those who were unvaccinated against COVID in early December 2021 reported a variety of reasons why. Vaccinated here refers to adults who have received at least one dose, just one, which is nothing really, of any COVID vaccine, and unvaccinated refers to adults who don't have any vaccine. Unvaccinated adults who responded to the survey could select more than one reason. Okay. Half reported they were concerned about possible side effects. 42% reported that they don't trust the COVID-19 vaccine. Fewer than 10% reported that they hadn't gotten the vaccine because their doctor had not recommended it, which I find curious. Maybe because they didn't ask their doctor, so he couldn't recommend it. About 2% reported not getting the vaccine because of difficulty obtaining it. Okay. And why adults over 18 did not get the vaccine? Well, 50% are concerned about side effects. And I've heard that from some of our friends in the Midwest who are not vaccinated. And the first thing they say is, I don't want to get sick. I hear that it hurts people and I don't want to have a sore arm. And you want to say to these people, look, you're not doing anything, really. You're not working. You're unemployed. You're retired. You're not in school. You don't have a family. What do you care if you have a side effect? What's it going to do to your life? They don't trust the COVID vaccine, 42%. Younger adults, less vaccinated. They were younger on average than those who had been vaccinated. Roughly 75% of the unvaccinated were under the age of 50. Well, I guess that's true. The older you get, the wiser you get, right? The older you get, the more you seek out a shot. Give me any kind of shot to extend my life or to protect me. Among the vaccinated, fewer than half were under the age of 50. These unvaccinated people also had lower levels of education, on average, than those who were vaccinated. Survey respondents who had received at least one dose were twice as likely as the unvaccinated to have a college degree or higher. They were much less likely than vaccinated adults to be married, 46 versus 56%. So they're young, unvaccinated people who are not married, which is very interesting. When you're married, you kind of check each other. You say, well, if you're doing it right, let's think about this from two different points of view. When you have two people who are exactly the same, in a marriage or in a friendship, that's when bad things start to happen because the craziness builds on each other. You take turns tempering each other. The share of unvaccinated, non-Hispanic white adults was not different from the share who were vaccinated. The same is true for Hispanic adults. But non-Hispanic black adults were slightly more represented among the unvaccinated, 13%, than the vaccinated, 11%. A small but statistically significant difference. And I find that is true. The Tuskegee experiments are still reverberating in current black households, and they're scared of the government offering a shot. The Asian population, 6% of the vaccinated were non-Hispanic, but only 1% of the unvaccinated were non-Hispanic of Asian. So that's a fascinating topic about who's getting vaccinated and why not. And then I bumped into this online, which I thought was hilarious and stinging and prescient all at the same time. This is a quiz that someone created that you can give to these unvaccinated people who claim that they've done their research and in consultation with no one, they have determined that the vaccine is no good. So these are the questions you can ask them. What type of cell is this? And have them identify the cell. Another question, which of these antibody chains is the first to respond to an antigen? And there are 5 choices. 6 choices. 5 choices. When the innate immune system encounters a foreign antigen, what cell surface molecule plays the role of recognizing the presence of a foreign antigen? These are important questions. If you've done your research, if you don't trust the doctors, you should know how to answer these questions. Identify the cytokine that is responsible for early development of B cells in the bone marrow. In its absence, B cells do not develop. There are your choices. Pick the right one. The ability of several different cytokines to exert a similar activity is called a what? I don't know the answer to any of these. Number 6, T cells mature in the thymus. Their maturation is driven by the blank, insert your answer, protein that is expressed by stromal cells in the thymus. And there are your answers. Pick one. Well, of course, you would present this to someone and they'd say, I don't need to know that. I know in my bones. I am protected by the blood of Jesus. My friends don't think I should. The Tuskegee experiment. I'm not getting a shot. I don't want a vaccine. I'm scared of needles. So they always have a reason. But when they say they don't trust the doctors or the scientists, it makes me wonder, when you're on an airplane and you're a passenger, have you checked out the pilot? Do you know who he is, who she is, where they come from, what their training is, how long they've been flying, what their safety record is? Or do you just trust that there's a system in place that verifies and vets and confirms the qualifications of someone to be a pilot for that airline and fly you to where you want to go? Most people accept that there is a system in place to protect them and that they're going to get there safely. But not, oh no, not if it comes to a COVID vaccine. That's different. That, I'm my own expert. I am my own scientist. Sure, I could be on an airplane and it would crash and hurt my body, but that I accept. But a COVID vaccine I'll never do. It's a little difficult to have conversations with people like that and people who believe in ways that don't necessarily always make sense. Now, just in case we don't know, we know that COVID deaths are going up in America. We're breaking new records all the time, just the kind of records you don't want to break. The lightning spread of the coronavirus Omicron variant in the United States pushed the 7-day average of new daily cases to 250,000 as of Tuesday, surpassing the previous high of 248,000 on January 12. All right, a year ago. Are things getting better or are things getting worse? I don't know. Give me a test, I'll find out. The Omicron variant, first identified late last month in southern Africa, has sent infections soaring to levels not seen since last winter, bringing the total number of U.S. coronavirus cases since the pandemic began to more than 63 million, with over 800,000 deaths. It's so easy to get out of this, but people don't want to get out of it. Sometimes I think they like the attention. And just in case anybody doesn't know, if you're overweight, if you're obese, the COVID is not for you. Research findings show that patients with obesity who achieve substantial and sustained weight loss with bariatric surgery prior to a COVID-19 infection reduce their risk of developing severe illness by about 60%. Our study provides strong evidence that obesity is a modifiable risk factor for COVID-19 that can be improved through a successful weight loss intervention. So as this report suggests, obesity weakens the immune system, creates chronic inflammatory states, and increased risk for cardiovascular disease, blood clots, and lung conditions. All of these conditions can complicate COVID-19. And if you look online on Facebook, these people who refuse to get the vaccine and who are really, really ill in the hospital are almost always very, very overweight. And their body just can't handle it. And another interesting subset of that is if they're male, they more often than not, these guys who are overweight and in the hospital and dying of COVID, have a goatee. Now, what that means, I don't know. But if you do your own research on Facebook and social media and look at who is dying of COVID and the unvaccinated, they're overweight, and if they're male, they have a goatee. Oh my gosh, Dora's back. When I get on my rants, I miss the chat. But we can always pin, so we can reply to our lovely, friendly Dora. I may not be going anywhere for New Year's, the way these numbers are going. That's very smart. My niece was exposed, and my good friend who's battling cancer was exposed. And exposed, I believe that means tested positive, right? Well, that's horrible. It's a great concern. We have a friend of ours in the Midwest who is overweight and has lymphedema and is not feeling well and is on disability now. Refuses to get the vaccine only because this person does not want to have the possibility of not feeling good. When this person is already sick with all these other ailments, up all night, sleeps all day. And this person had a recent meeting with her family members, had a get-together, and this person was screamed at by her family members. Why aren't you vaccinated? Get vaccinated right now. You are sick and you're fat. I don't know if it did any good, but I was very impressed that the family in conservative Midwest cared enough about that family member to stand up and say, hey, you're not doing the right thing. Your concerns are misplaced. You don't want to get this because you don't just get it and go away. Some of our students at major universities over the last year, not just the last semester, the last year, will get infected with COVID and be out of class for a week or two, and they get reinfected. Some of them have been infected 3 times. And you can't go to these schools, unless you're vaccinated and you're wearing a mask in university buildings. And you still get sick. So you think, well, what are they doing in their off time? I don't know, but does it matter? Because they're still getting sick. Somebody has to deal with this. It's a bad, terrible thing. And even when you do the right thing, it still comes after you. So, Dora, I think you're smart not to go anywhere. I can't believe that New York City, as the last I heard, they're still doing the New Year's Eve Times Square boondoggle. But they're limiting it to 15,000 people. And you have to show proof of vaccination, which we know doesn't mean anything. Oh, Dora's back. Oh, but needs to be tested and needs to be quarantined. Oh, boy. TG both are vaccinated, but still concerning my niece. Out of a bunch of so caution, cancel New Year. Oh, that's good. Cancel everything. I almost think we should go back on lockdown for 2 months. And it would have to be planned. And people would have to be paid. And people would have to be taken care of. And we could do it in America, but 40% of the people would be in the streets with guns and saying, not my America. This is our world, and we don't have a choice except to live in it and find a way to survive. And this is where we're going to start getting into this loosening up, this new information that's coming out of places that some people are standing up and saying, wait a minute, that is not correct. And the latest thing that is now false, that is proven false by this research, is that the false claim that is spreading on the internet now is they've now killed close to twice as many kids from the COVID vaccine as have died from COVID. That was stated on the 12th of this month. And this guy said he used data from the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, an open system for accepting unverified reports about possible vaccine side effects. However, as stated on their website, it's a passive reporting system, meaning it relies on individuals to send in reports, I say false reports, of their experiences to the CDC and the FDA. That website is not designed to determine if a vaccine caused a health problem or not. So why are these people out there saying these terrible things, these lies, and spreading them and trying to get attention? There are some people say that this is all about authoritarianism. They want to deconstruct democracy, put people in a spin, have people playing against each other, being upset, and the only way to solve it is to have a daddy figure, an authoritarian figure, come down from the sky, come out of Mar-a-Lago, and install an authoritarian, military-controlled government. That's what some people think. That's what's behind all of this. Here's how the CDC report responded to that false claim. Before recommending COVID-19 vaccinations for children, scientists conducted clinical trials with thousands of children, and no serious safety concerns were identified. The FDA gave the Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine emergency authorization to use in ages 5 to 15 years old and full approval to use in people ages 16 and older. The benefits of a COVID-19 vaccination outweigh the known and potential risks. So that's the CDC's response, which, how you feel about the CDC comes and goes. Here's another reporter who said that 485 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered in the United States. During that time, that ridiculous website received 10,000 reports of death among people who received a COVID vaccine. 0.0022%. But reports of adverse events to that website following vaccination include deaths, do not necessarily mean the vaccine caused the death. Anyone can submit a report to that website, but the reports are not followed up and they're not verified. So how does that happen? Some weird guy goes on there and reports, oh, this is what's happening. All these people are dying. In a blog post by a medical doctor against that false claim that more children are dying from the vaccine than have died of COVID. This is what she said. Health officials have observed an increased risk for heart inflammation in adolescents and young adults who recently received Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine. Most of those cases have been teenage boys aged 12 to 29. The Pfizer vaccine is authorized for use in patients as young as 5 years old. The risk of reaction is very low, roughly 0.01% in 10,000 cases. As of November of this year, more than 434 million doses of the vaccine have been administered in the U.S., with over 15 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine given to people ages 12 to 18. Children 5 to 11 become eligible to receive lower dose vaccine in November of 2021. And in the studies of more than 3,000 children ages 5 to 11 who received the Pfizer vaccine, none developed inflammation of the heart, let alone died. So this is what we're up against, the calm middle that I like to try to call some of us, where we don't want to be on the right extreme, we don't want to be too far on the left extreme, we just want to be in the middle. We want to live our lives. We want to watch football. We want to eat a potato chip. And we don't want the craziness coming at us from both sides. And it's probably too much to ask right now because there's too much at stake from people who are not really interested in doing the right thing, but are just interested in being heard and having their agenda served. And now, we're going to take a brief blood pressure break. And I will see you momentarily. And we are back here on Boles.tv. BOLES period TV. I'm looking at our closed captions to see if it's doing it right. And it looks good so far. Good. Well, I'm glad you're with us today. Interesting conversations, sort of depressing conversations, but on the East Coast it's a gloomy, rainy, ugly, awful day. But the windows are open, so there's good and the bad. You take the bad and you welcome the good. And we've canceled all of our New Year's Eve plans because Dora said we should, and we will. We'll just stay locked in, loving each other, online, virtually, for the next 5 years. And I was talking to Janet the other night. Panda Express. It's at the Newport Mall. The closest one to us, I believe. And they have new Beyond Chicken. Beyond Orange Chicken. That's vegan and available. And then you get a little bit of noodles, vegan noodles, and some vegetables. And you got this delicious, healthy, wonderful dinner. And I said, well, we'll get it sometime when we go back to the mall in 5 years. She did not like that answer. And she said it won't be 5 years. And I hope not, but who knows? I'm surprised that people go to malls. Malls were already dying. But there are some malls that are doing well. And I think the Newport Mall here in Jersey City is doing very well. Still, I think. But I don't think there are a lot of people in there right now because people are scared of this coronavirus. And the food court is huge and not open air. So you have to be very cautious. Get a good mask. And now they're saying if you have a cloth mask, that's not enough. If you have a cloth mask, you have to wear a surgical mask under it, put the cloth mask on top. Now, if you have a good mask, a KN95 mask, an N95 mask, a similar sort of medical mask, you'll be better. But we still don't have mask mandates back yet. You can still walk around our building, be in New York, New Jersey, and not necessarily have to wear a mask if you're outside, which is a bit of a change. Oh, there's the baby, Jana Marie. Can't wait to try the orange chicken one day. We wondered where you were, but we didn't want to be rude to say anything. And now we know where you are. You're waiting to comment on food. But it looks very delicious. But we do make our own orange-flavored chicken with rice here at home, and it's very, very delicious. Trader Joe's makes a vegan orange chicken. I think Gardein does as well. It's a big thing and very delicious. And that little yellow diamond next to Jana's name says Bits Leader 1. And that's because she bought bits yesterday because we thought, mistakenly, that it would cost us 500 bits to get closed captioning running for one day for her. So now she has all these bits that we don't know what we're going to do with. She did cheer yesterday for 100 bits, and maybe she'll cheer again later. We don't know. She's very unpredictable. Except when it comes to orange-flavored chicken, where the answer is always, yes, please, I'll have some more. I keep pinning and unpinning that message. Okay, I have to click the unpin. I can't. If I click the pin button, it takes it away and then puts it back. Okay. So now we get into this very weird and unfortunate place where we begin to really question the motives of our government that is supposed to protect us and provide for the social welfare. And We have anti-vax people who already don't trust anything the CDC says or the FDA says or Dr. Fauci or anybody. And now we have people who are well-informed, vaccinated, who hear things from the CDC that say, wait a minute, now that doesn't make any sense. Why would we remove quarantines from 10 days to 5 days? And there are people who say, well, we want to reduce it to 5 days. Great. But to get out of quarantine, you have to have a negative test, which makes sense. Well, that's not part of it. You just self-report. I'm feeling better and I'm not taking a test. And at a major university, this is so ridiculous. Last semester, major East Coast university. If you were exposed to someone who had coronavirus, or if you had it yourself, you were instructed to quarantine based on proximity and if it was you or if just someone you knew. But you could go back to class, you could return to work if you were feeling okay. You did not have to provide a negative test. If you're feeling okay and it's been 3 to 5 days since you were tested, positive or negative, you can go back. And then we worry, how are these kids getting reinfected 3 times over? So this is where my investigation begins. It begins last Thursday. All right, last Thursday, this is before Christmas. Last Thursday, we got a little bit of a rumbling. That was surprising, and you heard about it, you went, wait a minute, what? The NBA and National Basketball Players Association are near an agreement to reduce the 10-day quarantine periods for COVID-positive players, sources told ESPN on Thursday. The arrangement, expected to soon be shared with teams, could return some players to active play in 6 days, based on testing procedures, sources said. Now you read that and you wonder, where is this coming from? Where's the CDC? Where's the government? That's not the plan. That is not the rule. Why is the NBA deciding we're not having a 10-day quarantine anymore? We're having a 5-day quarantine. So that was the first canary in the coal mine that something's up, something's changing. We are not where we think we are. Yesterday... Hello! Who's following? Colligan, thank you for the follow. So that was last Thursday, driving the conversation, the NBA players. Yesterday, we received this notification from the Big Ten Athletic Conference. Again, sports, right? And the Big Ten is changing their COVID protocols. If a team or team are unable to participate in a scheduled conference competition due to COVID-19, and as a result, the competition is unable to occur on the calendar on the day which it is scheduled, the competition will not... Oh, Dora says, I'm out of it today. Didn't sleep well, tossed and turned, so I feel like a zombie. I didn't read that a whole Navy crew came down with COVID and everyone was vaccinated. Yes, I did hear about that. Oh, and Dora's saying hello to Jana Marie. Yes, I read about the Navy vaccine thing. There was a cruise ship. People were on a cruise ship, and I think 24 of the staff were all infected with COVID. They didn't tell anybody. The only reason the passengers found out is because they couldn't dock. Because the foreign country wouldn't let them off the boat because they were COVID positive. So the Big Ten used to say if you couldn't play, if you didn't take care of your team, and you had to cancel a game because of COVID, then you forfeit the game. Well, yesterday, the Big Ten changed it all. The competition will not automatically be considered a forfeiture. Oh, isn't that convenient? Upon review and approval by the conference office, not doctors, right? Not the medical system, conference doctors. A conference office. In consultation with the participating institutions of the Big Ten Chief Medical Officer, Dr. James Borchers, the competition may be rescheduled or declared a no contest or a forfeiture. The conference office will be responsible for rescheduling any conference competition posted due to COVID-19. The number of competitors available, meaning players, people, i.e. 7 scholarship student athletes for women's and men's basketball, and the ability of at least one countable coach. Not a person, not just a coach, but a countable coach, will be factored into the decision-making process. A team that is below the number may still decide to compete if deemed safe by appropriate medical personnel. The decision to postpone a competition will not be automatic even if a team is below the number. So now the Big Ten is saying, well, we'll still play even if we have COVID infections on the team and some of the kids can't play. We're going to play anyway. You don't have to forfeit your games anymore. So here's the reaction on Twitter about this new infection stuff and quarantine stuff. This week, the CDC released a new guidance on quarantine. If 14 days is infeasible, then 10 days or 7 days of a negative test is probably okay as long as you never have symptoms. It's important to note that this does not contradict earlier guidelines. 14 days is still ideal. That's what one doctor says. Well, this is what another doctor said. I've seriously been waiting all day for you to tweet about this. To me, this policy creates a false dichotomy. People won't do 14 days, so they need a shorter quarantine period. Instead, we could create wraparound services to support those quarantining and isolating. And then the conversation continues. Fascinatingly, I don't get the CDC director saying it's going to be a dark winter one day, and then the next day promoting a policy that can contribute to the spread of coronavirus. I'm for policies that will lighten our dark winter. New York City has some great examples on how to support quarantine isolating people. So you already, in the medical community, you have people wondering, what's going on with this reduction in quarantining? It doesn't make any sense. In another report, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimated that the Omicron variant now accounts for roughly 59% of all COVID cases in the United States. A significant decrease from the agency's previous estimate. The update shows how hard it is to track the fast-spreading variant in real time and how poorly the agency has communicated its uncertainty. Last week, the CDC said that Omicron accounted for 73% of variants circulating in the United States. But in its revision, the agency said the variant accounted for 23% of cases that week. So who's telling the truth? What is the truth? If you have to wait a period of time to get your numbers right, you should wait and not confuse people. And here's a doctor who is tracking Omicron in Connecticut, replying to what I just told you about the CDC. He said the variant makes up 80% of cases in Connecticut. I don't know how the CDC built their algorithm, but human beings made these programs, and humans are fallible. At the end of the day, you can predict as much as you want, but you need to look at the numbers you have in your head. Another doctor tracking Omicron in Wisconsin said the variant made up half cases, 50%, on the University of Wisconsin-Madison campus in just 3 days. If I was making a betting prediction, it wasn't so much that the number 73% was wrong, but that the timing to get there was wrong. So who do we agree with? Who's going to follow us? And now we have this. I am baffled at the CDC's decision to shorten isolation from 10 days to 5 days. Here are tests from the same person. Day 0, 3 days after exposure, and day 8. The person still has a huge amount of virus in their nose 8 days after testing positive. Quickest clearance, 6 days. Longest vaccine, 8.5 days. So this is day 0, the sample. COVID test. And here we go, day 8. Day 0, barely there. Day 8, positive. Dora, reporting from New York. Just saw this. CityMD is closing 31 clinics in the New York metro area during the Omicron surge. From the New York Post. The same thing has happened here in Jersey City. They closed at least 5 last week, CityMDs, because they were being overrun by people wanting tests, and their staff was sick with coronavirus. Now, those are dedicated people who go there and purposefully expose themselves to these people who are very sick looking for help to get assistance and confirmation that they are actually sick with coronavirus, COVID-19. And I guess it's smarter to close a few CityMDs than to have them understaffed. But that makes the line a lot longer. So this is the rest of this conversation. To put it in context, I oversee the testing of thousands of people each week in the workplace. Some people we test daily, others once a week. Millions of tests over the past 18 months. As we do not want to have workplace transmission, we ensure that. When we have a positive test, we do not return them to work too soon. Workplace transmission would shut us down. Union rules, so we are cautious and use data to return people. We have always used PCR for testing. That's the only way to go. And more recently, the last 9 months, supplemented with anti-antigen tests. PCR can stay positive for months after recovery, while antigen tests are a good balance. Recent data shows that if you are antigen test negative with a good quality test, then the likelihood of being able to transmit to others is very low. So we use the best tools we have available to give the outcome the employer and the union members want for safety in the workplace. That means a mix of symptom surveillance, PCR, and antigen testing, and not just bringing people back to work earlier than is reasonable by the biology. Now that makes sense, right? That's not what the CDC is doing. The CDC is saying if you have a positive test, stay home for 5 days and come back. We don't care if you're positive or negative, just come back in 5 days. It seems insane to me. And now to have a little bit of a break before we have our break, a fun break. This is some fun news. There is a new effort to provide low-income kids access to violins. And they are printed 3D in a 3D printer. And they're easy to clean, and you can sterilize them, and they sound good. And they're in Vegas right now. We've already shipped a printer out to Vegas. As long as we get power to run it, we're excited to show how we can build, with plastic, a violin. And here's what it looks like. It's the cutest thing ever. 3dmusic.org. On-demand, 3D printed instruments. Now this makes me happy. This is genius. This is what you want technology to do, not be human, but to serve mankind, which is not a cookbook. So this is their whole page right now, and these are the violins. And I'm going to show you this little demonstration. I watched it. There's a little bit of music in there. Oh, Dora needs a piano. Well, that would be interesting to see if you could 3D print a piano. The strings might be a little tough. But this example it's an A and B test. They're not really clear about it, where the person is playing a regular violin, then they're playing the 3D printed plastic violin. Can you hear the difference? That's what this little thing is about. I don't think we'll get in trouble playing it. So could you tell the difference? The first time I heard it, I couldn't, but when I listened really carefully this time, I could tell the difference. Just the first one, the authentic wood violin, is just a little bit deeper and rich in tone. The real one does sound better, Dora. I agree with you. But to have a freshly printed violin for a kid to have and use and share in school and disinfect it, fabulous. The sound is not only good enough, I think it's workable in performance. And on that lovely note, we're going to take our very final blood pressure break as I peer to you through the Boles.tv logo. Back in a moment. back from break. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv. B-O-L-E-S dot, period, T and a V. Slowing it down for the closed captioning. Interesting show today. And now we're going into a little bit of a strange and difficult topic because it's so disappointing. And it has to do with big game hunting with bow and arrow, as I understand it. And there are some hunters, I guess, of the mind that that's the best and fairest way to hunt game, with a bow and arrow. It's the most equalizing. Now that I don't understand, because the animals have what the animals have, and you have a bow and arrow, or a gun, or whatever, weapon. Animals don't really have weapons. Animals only have what they have. So if you really want to be a tough guy, go face the animal one-on-one, on your terms, and if you win, using your bare hands against their claws or their jaws, then okay. And I understand people that have to hunt in order to feed their families, and nothing goes to waste. Okay. Then there are people who hunt animals for sport because they want a trophy, or they want to feel better about themselves. And in this story of big game hunting with bows and arrows, I came to understand that two of the people involved in this limited story both happen to be dentists. Now, why that is big game dentist hunters with bows and arrows, I don't understand it. I can't say I get it. Now, there are some people who say that dentists are not doctors. The DDS after their name is not an MD. MDs will tell you. And some dentists, they don't get a lot of respect from the medical community, because the hardcore medical community does not consider a dentist a doctor. That is until they need them to fix their tooth, probably. So there's sort of a weird fringe element to dentistry that I was not really aware of until I started teaching public health at the University of Medicine and Dentistry in New Jersey. And I found out this whole rigmarole about dentists not being doctors and doctors not accepting dentists in the fraternity of community of minds, or the sorority of community of minds. So in a Midwestern newspaper, I bumped across this story, which then triggered another story that I'm going to share with you now. And this is how it all ends for this guy. I guess there's a thing called the Big Game Hunters Super Slam. And you spend a lot of money traveling the world to kill these animals. And I think you have to have people with you to verify that your kill was good. And it's done with a bow and arrow. Archery, as they say. Now, why someone would want to participate in this with the purposeful hunting and killing of animals just so you can win an award? Feed an ego? Is something I don't understand. So some of the things that this guy killed: a white-tailed deer in Iowa, a mule deer in Idaho, a woodland caribou in Newfoundland, a mountain caribou in British Columbia, a Shire's moose in Colorado, central barren ground caribou, Nunavut, Roosevelt elk in Oregon, Columbia black-tailed deer in California. Oh, and don't forget the Sitka black-tailed deer, Prince of Wales Island, Alaska. So there was this big story in the newspaper celebrating this local guy who killed all these wonderful things. I told myself that day I was tired of reading about all those big game species. I wanted to experience the hunt. I wanted to pursue all of those species. I wanted to experience the hunt, to interact with them, to be in their ecosystems. But first, he had to map out his future. He knew the cost of many of those big game hunts were out of his reach. I was aware that it would take money to accomplish my goal, he said. Several of my friends were oral surgeons, orthodontists, dentists, and they all hunted. I associated dentistry with hunting. So I made up my mind that I likely would go into the dental profession. Now, isn't that a weird way to make a career choice? Can you imagine someone working for the government trying to find jobs for people, and the person comes in and says, my job goal is to be a big game hunter, but first, I want to go to dental school. And this guy graduated degrees in biology and environmental studies. This fellow developed a love of birds as a child after his mother, Janet, took him on her many bird-loving forays. Now I say, he loved the birds so much he couldn't wait to kill them. He took note of the birds he encountered while pursuing the goal of shooting the 29 species of big game animals that inhabit North America. The list includes polar bear, mountain lion, grizzly bear, and several species of sheep, elk, caribou, and deer. Even a musk ox. Excuse me. I don't get it either, Dora. And it gets even weirder. The quest, which dictated his life for more than 3 decades. I have been married to my beautiful Jenny Marie for 3 decades. This guy's been out hunting big game with his bow and arrow. It ended in October when he killed a Canada moose, one of the 3 moose species on archery's Super Slam list. He is the 41st bow hunter to accomplish that feat and the first from Iowa or Nebraska. Dora wonders if it's all about control, do you think? I think I wonder if it's about bragging rights and getting the certificate and the award. I don't know. I lived modestly. I'm a miser. I live in a 1-bedroom house. I've driven used cars. If I go out to eat, it's Taco Bell rather than some big steakhouse. All of that was so I could get myself to the next hunt. It was one hunt at a time. I just whittled away at it. Greer grimaced when asked how much he forked out during his Super Slam quest. I don't really want to know. I'd say preliminary numbers for the hunts themselves are $450,000 to $500,000. When you add travel and taxidermy, I say I'd spend between $750,000 and $1 million. All that money, I'll eat at Taco Bell if I could just shoot a moose with my bow and arrow. And 2 years ago, there was another dentist from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Made all the news. Bow and arrow made a righteous kill of Cecil, a 13-year-old lion with a distinctive black mane known by everyone who ever toured the game reserve in Zimbabwe. He wasn't relying on common sense or humanity because the facts are plain. The hunters drew the lion out of a protected reserve by tying a dead animal to their truck. Then Palmer shot Cecil with a bow and arrow, archery, and tracked the wounded lion for 40 hours. Shot him dead with a gun, and then made plans to take the head home to show his pals. The price? $55,000. Yes, it's a man's life in the American Dental Association. Dora says, my uncle in Italy shot and stuffed birds. It's very interesting. And this guy who shot Cecil the lion, he was listed as a member of the trophy hunting organization Safari Club International. His profile lists 43 kills, including caribou, moose, deer, buffalo, and a polar bear, and a mountain lion. SCI announced on Wednesday it was suspending the membership of Palmer and his Zimbabwe-based guide. So you don't have to be a dentist just to go out for the thrill of the kill, right? You may have seen this image before. Donald Trump Jr. hunting elephants. Here he cut off the tail of an elephant. Big game hunter using his knife. And there's his rifle. Very proud of this picture. He shows this picture everywhere. He's not hiding. And it's not just Junior. Oh no, his brother as well, Eric. Proud. Big game hunt with guns, not archery. 2012. Posing with a dead leopard they killed. So that's how we value some lives in America. Write them down, log them, pay a lot of money for them, because the kill is more important than the life that's being taken. And people can spend their money on whatever they want. They can have whatever game plan they want, whatever job goal they want. It's just curious when you see the paths that people choose to take. I'll live in a one-bedroom house if I can just go and kill a moose. Not with my bare hands, not with a bow and arrow. I want the award. I want the attention. I want to stuff it and put it on my wall. Control, perhaps. Well, it's been a very interesting stream today. I thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time and attention in a busy world where we're being surrounded and swirled with things we don't understand or want to accept. But that's life, taking the good with the bad, opening the window and closing the window. We just hope we get through it without getting too sick, because sickness comes for everyone eventually. If you have a question or a comment and would like it answered in this live stream, you can email me, david@boles.tv. If you have a question for Jana Marie Sweetheart about American Sign Language or about deafness or disability, you can write to her, Jana@boles.tv. And if she doesn't know the answer, or if she needs more information, she'll find out and she'll let you know. But you can come and ask her on the live stream. You can also ask me questions on Twitter @DavidBoles, on Facebook, BOLES, on Instagram, Boles Books, and we do have a Discord server, David Boles, if you want to get in touch that way. Well, I hope you take care and be well and have a good rest of the day or the evening, wherever you happen to be in this lovely round world in which we spin. And until tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, I'm David Boles, This has been Boles.tv. Thank you for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Bye, Dora.